Hello people, welcome to another edition of A Dose of Drew with another knife review here. Here we're doing sort of an oldie but a goodie. This is the Civivi Baklash. This is actually a discontinued model. You can find these right now for under $29. You can find these for like 27 bucks right now, under $30. So let's get into it. First things first. Take a look at some of the inch measurements here. This is a 3.5 inch blade right from the tip to the very scale, and from tip to tail it is 8 inches overall. Pretty good size, all things considering. It is a hollow grind high saber hollow grind 9CR18 MOV steel. I always forget where they put it. They put it all over the place. This can be really hard to find sometimes. Anyway, 9CR18 steel. Or AUS 118, Chromova 18, all sorts of stuff. Just over 3.6 ounces, which, for those of you here, 102.4 grams. All right, so 3.6 ounces, just slightly over that ounce per inch. It is non-nested, with a backspacer, non-nested liners. This is the ebony wood version. I believe knifecenter.com, I'll have it down there, has these on special right now. They got a batch of discontinued, I would imagine. Pretty cool. Let's do some quick referential stuff. This is not a new knife. As I said before, this is a discontinued model, so it has been reviewed several times. This is it next to the Paramilitary 2. As you can see, lots of hand space, no beak, with a fairly similar amount of blade edge, cutting edge wise. And with the Para 3 here, Para 3 lightweight in this case, as you can see, it is significantly larger than the Para 3. All right, one more thing. It is just a blur. Very similar overall, slightly longer overall in the blur. And once again, shows why the blur might want to choil. And not just any leak, but a random leak. There you are. See, significantly larger than that. Very similar in overall closed height and size to the blur. And that is a good thing. The blur is a fairly compact knife that puts a lot of blade edge in a mid-sized package. And for some other ones, just to give you an idea, there it is next to a Benchmade bug out. Significantly larger. And the Civivi Elementum. Again, noticeably larger than either of those, giving you lots of hand space as well as cutting edge. And of course, here it is next to my Weenar. As you can see, though it is larger, my Weenar is just more interesting. All right, let's get into the damn nice. That's design, aesthetics, mechanics, noteworthy points, intended purpose, cost to value ratio, and expectations. And if there's a way to make it damn nicer, a request in there. Not that it'll be heard because this is a discontinued model. They're moving along. But first of all, that harpoon blade with the hollow grind. Let's get some measurements on that for a minute here. Overall stock thickness. All right. Oh, it's in millimeters. So that's probably gonna mess with people. I was about to say just over 3 millimeters, 1.117, which is pretty much exactly 3 millimeters. And then behind the edge, which is ridiculously tiny, that is right. That's 9 thousandths behind the edge. Ridiculously thin behind that edge. Okay, incredibly thin behind that edge. So that hollow grind comes way down to just the thinnest of slicey little grinds, and it does. Oh my, does it do it well and easy. Right, that just like a knife through butter. Like butter. but it does it very, very well. And then you get into the ergonomics. It does kind of have this lobed handle, decent sized choil, nice thumb ramp to the harpoon swedge there, which is a beautiful thing on part of the aesthetics. Good ergonomics in the saber grip. You can even kind of choke up just a little bit to really bear down. You can choke up with your finger for a little bit more control. Double choke up so you can get, pick a sliver or something like that. Very, very nice. On the overhand grip, also very good. Definitely can get in there for like a pinch grip or anything like that. The thumb ramp makes a good little spot for your finger to rest. Knuckle goes over the balance point, in fact, in front of it, just a little bit, giving you lots of control. A little bit behind the pivot. It's about, see if I can do this, about right there. I don't know if you can see my finger on there. It's the other side, so it's about right there. A little bit behind the pivot for me. Not my favorite balance point, but really good machining lines on here, especially on the ebony wood. Smooth here, rounded off. It's not contoured per se, but that heavy rounding here makes it feel very much like it is. And the non-nested liner locks give it a thick profile when it comes to the closed or just the regular handle part, but that makes it very hand-filling, especially for a knife this large. Very slim on this big would almost be like trying to hold a ruler. So there's something nice to it, filling the hand. And of course, the aesthetics on it, I really like that harpoon blade. It does look cool. I don't know exactly what it is about the harpoon blade that just makes it look so cool, but it does. The nice semi-lobed handle here, very classic, very well done. Has a little bit of a cutout for the lanyard, but it is rounded over, which isn't bad at all. As you guys can hear, my cat wants out. He's going to have to wait. And so there we are, right? So it definitely looks good. Very classic lines. They flow together nicely. Closed, it is very compact, stays mostly within its own footprint, a little bit of swedge, but other than that, the lines match up and are complementary, both open and closed. Very aesthetically pleasing. It looks like a knife, it acts like a knife, and it says knifey knife. Very, very good. The mechanics of it, it is on bearings. And though it is a relatively light blade, they have it tuned really well. You can fail it, right? If you try and do light switch, too slow, but do a real quick light switch or even a decent little push button, it works very good with those. It can be failed, but if you just do a fairly robust bit there, it's the only deployment possibility. There's no deployment hole or thumb studs or anything like that, which makes for very clean lines, but it also means that's the only way you're opening that. Fidget factor, not quite as good as being able to do all that stuff. And as you can see, you can make it bounce with a little bit of rough. Is that perfect? No, but it's also approximately a 2 or 3 year old model. And with all of the advancements that have come with excellence, other models just simply have a couple of things more, mostly because they were trying to compete with this knife. This is still an outstanding knife with that thin hollow grind 9CR18 ebony wood handles and Civivi's quality on build. This is pretty good. And the mechanics too, as you can see, the drop shut drops, but it's linear, hydraulic, and controlled. You can overdo it. You can click it too much. Snaps in detent. Pretty good. It's not the snappiest detent. It can be failed, but doesn't take much for it to just pop right open. So it's very good. The mechanics work pretty good. Noteworthy points on this. Number one, this is a really good EDC knife from a couple of years ago when it was first out, and it's one of the knives that helped launch Civivi, honestly. And that's one of the noteworthy points. This is still an outstanding EDC knife, considering how far EDC knives have come. The explosion of D2 everywhere. The plethora of excellence that has gone out there. The number of knives that now have feedback and manufacturers are like, we can do it to that quality standard. The number of those that are out there is pretty amazing, honestly. For those who are, I have two different color lights. So if you're wondering what that blue and reddish orange is, there's two different color lights to make a warm color. So the noteworthy points on this. One, this is a really good, well-known Civivi, right? This is one that's been out there for a while. It's very well balanced. It's a little bit tail heavy, but that makes things like coming back and scoring, this kind of scoring grip, very nice. It also makes the saber grip very useful. It puts your knuckle puts your power knuckle right around the balance point, which is very good. And that's going to get to anything. Normally this is like a $50-something knife. It being a closeout now, that's going to change. And for the intended purpose, this is an EDC knife. This is Civivi trying to design, not trying, they did, but this is Civivi designing a full-size EDC knife with a lot of the feedback from the previous few years before this, when they were trying to make a name for themselves. They said, we'll make it snappy, we'll make it so it has a choil, we'll make it so it has, all the stuff is going to be flat, it's going to be hand filling, and all of the things that 5 years ago good knives did, this knife does, as well as a lot of the stuff that still today we consider to be good. It does very, very well. Very, very well. And so, as an EDC knife, as a full-size 3.5-inch bladed EDC knife, this is pretty good. And at $50, the cost to value ratio is still actually a fairly good knife. There are other ones out there, like notably, though this is not the same thing, but notably like just a regular pyrite. Similar pricing to what this came out on. But here's the part I'm going to throw out there. This right now, this copy that I got, you can find Blade HQ, you can find it. This is a closeout model. Right now, the time of this viewing, these are on sale at most knife retailers as closeout models for $26.99, for $27. Something that's like 45% off. They're trying to get rid of the old stuff. It's like $27 or $28 for this knife. This is cheaper than, look, I have it right here, so I may as well. That's cheaper than that. That is cheaper than a QSP Penguin. And it is more knife. Yeah, there's a lot of edge here. You get a lot in this package. But really, ebony wood, 9CR18, Civivi, everything you get in this package is quite significant. And the cost to value ratio at $27 is just huge. Everything else about this knife is great. You could pay $50 for this knife and it would be fantastic. You'd still have a good knife and a good value. At under $30, this is crazy good. If you don't have a knife or you're looking for a beater knife, this thing is $27. 9CR18, extremely thin, easy on the pocket, and good. The cost to value ratio is just incredible. And I want to put the expectations out there first, because I expect this knife to be good. It has been reviewed multiple times by a lot of long-term reviewers who've been around for a while, and they had good things to say about this knife when it came out. I still have the same good things to say about this knife as it's being closed out. And it's a great little knife. Absolutely great little knife. And so we have it. It's good. I expected it to be that good, and it is. Like, it met my expectations, except under $30. Like, under $30 for this. That is crazy. And here's the biggest complaint I have. There's already a remedy for it. It's this pocket clip. This long waste of pocket clip. It hits my hand when I grab the knife in saber grip, which is the farthest back. It hits it. That lip hits right. Let's see if I can make sense. It's right in the middle of my middle finger knuckle right there in my hand, making for an uncomfortable spot. If I choke back a little bit, it goes around that knuckle. This might be a better. It goes more up here so I can choke back. If I choke up, it goes right in between those fingers, but not in a way that makes it fit very well. So the pocket clip makes it hard for this knife to fit my hand without causing a hot spot or a weird spot. That being said, I have already ordered from Civivi for $5 on their website. You can do it on Amazon, or you can order replacement clips that are short that still fit. There's several different colors and sizes. Let's see, I have another one right here. I have one that'll go with jeans, and one that's black that'll match the ebony. But they already have replacement clips you can put that are smaller, and that'll fit. So you can change this, and for look, $5 on top of $27, that's $32 for an extra clip and a really good knife. It boggles my mind about how good this is for what the price is right now. And that's my request would be a different pocket clip. That's a ridiculous. I don't know why there's a 2.5-inch pocket clip to hold this knife in. Like, it doesn't need to be that big. It really doesn't need to be that much of a pocket clip. Get the ones that like are this size that quite literally fit these two fingers are a much better size and type, and especially on this knife, particularly for me, where making it fit just doesn't. There's not a spot where my hand fits well on this knife, and then the pocket clip fits my hand as well. So that's probably the one thing. The pocket clip is probably the worst thing, and there is already a remedy available from Civivi online for $5. You can order a new pocket clip. So that's pretty good. So that's really where it comes in. This is highly, highly good. There's a lot of things I would say bad about this knife. I really would like nested liners. I would like something else as far as, like a deployment thumb stud or a deployment hole, that anything that might make this just a little bit more fidget friendly. And of course, in this day and age, anything like a crossbar lock or a button lock would go over quite well also. But at $30, at under $30 in the knife spin, this is great. Like, the worst thing's that pocket clip. That's my biggest request. There's other stuff I maybe don't like, but again, this is a great knife for $30, under $30. That makes this fantastic. It's maybe an 84 or 85 in my opinion on knives. It's already relatively low. It's not as fidgety. There's a lot of things that could be nicer given today's requirements, but none of it is a fault of the knife's design. The knife is still a good design, extremely well executed. I would just like to see other things on it given to today's market. But I'm judging a 3-year-old knife by today's market, and it's still pretty good. It just falls a little short when it comes to what some other knives may or may not be presenting here, for something like Vosteed at $70-something. Like, there's other values, right? At $30-something, this thing's competing with a QSP Penguin, which it trounces. Just absolutely has a field day with it. And again, you can get the clip for $5 to fix what is the biggest issue with this knife, in my opinion. And that's that pocket clip. So there you go, man. This is the Civivi Baklash, and you can find these extremely cheap right about now. Extremely cheap. It's absolutely fantastic when it comes to it. You can find them cheap. You can find them as a closeout item. Very good knife. This may not, in today's market, you may say other knives that you like, but if you have looked at this before and said, I just didn't get it, for something that's under $30, it's worth a try. If you're thinking about getting one, it's as good as they say. It really is. And that's where I'm going to kind of drop it off. It has a great design and aesthetics. The mechanics are fantastic. The design execution by Civivi is great. The noteworthy points are, well, it's an EDC knife that has all of the great things going for it. And, some of that stuff is just good. Its intended purpose as a general EDC blade is useful, and it does it very well. And the cost to value ratio at today's closeout prices is literally beating everything else out there. You can't find a better value, in my opinion, I should say. It's really hard to find a better value, a better put together knife for the price that these things are getting closed out on. So that right there puts it huge in my book. And of course, I expected it to be very, very good, and it is. And the only request I would have to change is really, especially that pocket clip. It's just a really silly design on the rest of the knife that makes it an ergonomic hassle, whereas it could be an ergonomic masterpiece. And that's where I'm going to leave it, you guys. Very, very good. About an 85 on there. Definitely recommendable. And at the price that it's being closed out, try and pick one up. It's just a really good knife. Just to, if nothing else, to have a second knife that's really outstanding that you got for a really great price. So go ahead and take this video. Watch it twice. Comment as much as you like. Be mindful of side effects. Remember to like and subscribe. This has been your Dose of Drew. I am said Drew. You guys have a great rest of your night.